Hello everyone, my name is Gilbert Pablo, and today I wanted to show you some behind the scenes of the buildings that I produced during the Binding Chains, and this is the first one ever made. I had a few test buildings, but this was the first one ever fully finished and shown on screen. And as you can see, it is very rough, definitely the roughest of the buildings. This used to be a window, but there was so much hot glue that spilled over that ended up just making it look super awkward. So I decided to kind of put a wooden panel over it. This is very much based off some of the buildings I've seen here in my state, and as you can see, it's actually quite out of scale sometimes. As you can see, the door is actually very tiny. I'll get this. So this is actually very out of scale, which made animated on top of it very infuriating. But as you can see, I wasn't able to fully find many of the vinyl sheets that people tend to use, so I had to get a little bit creative and use these little cross stitch. I don't particularly remember their names, and they do remind me of some of the buildings I've seen around here. Main thing that a lot of people don't know is that these buildings are very much hollow. As you can see, this one is very old, and I had a lot of this left over, so I needed to find a way to not waste it. And so I just decided to just paint it black and glue it behind. That way you can see inside the buildings, and you can very much see a lot of the roughness of this first one. Just place that down. This was later replaced and is now just used for like at most background. Next is what we got is the second one the second one that was kind of refined. As you can see, I'm still had a bit of trouble with the door, most namely kind of getting the color to not smear off, but this one is the second one, and unfortunately this one does not have a rooftop, which I think was by accident. And as you can see, this one actually uses paper instead of foam. That's just because I didn't have a lot of foam left over because I was trying to be as non-wasteful as possible. This one, I think a lot of it, I think in many ways it's an improvement, but sometimes a bit of a downgrade too. As you can see, it's this one has much deeper grooves, I would say, as compared to this one. It's also the most minimal of all of them. But it also makes kind of like filming with it a bit more easier, as if I needed something to just be like really much in the background. This is the one I usually go for. So it's kind of like masking the other one's flaws in a way. And actually we can see one of my most important tools over here being the mechanical pencil that I actually just pressed really hard upon. And that's actually how I did the majority of these. So this one, honestly, it's an improvement, but definitely could be more improved upon. Okay, and this is the last one of that build, of these types of buildings. This one, as you can see, we still got a bit of some hot glue coming out, but this one unfortunately does have the worst door in comparison. As you can see, it's very much the smallest of the doors, but it does also have one of the better roofs. So I say definitely could be used for filming. But this one in comparison, keeps a lot more detail in my opinion. As you can see, it's also like this one's a lot more red, and this one's a lot more like toned down. I don't know what happened with this side, to be honest. I think I must have had a really unsteady hand, which shouldn't be too much of a shock, because one thing that most people don't know is that this room is actually really cold in the winter, and I believe this one was during the fall. So that's when things start to cool down a bit, and my hands actually do not retain heat all that well. As you can see, we were having some problems with the glue, but I believe that this is something that starts to become less and less noticeable. As you can see though, this was actually kind of meant to be like a very much of an end piece. And what I mean by that is that it's always meant to be at the end of a set, because this one, I was running low on foam board at the time, so I just had to make do with what I had. Okay, so next we got some unused one, and oh my god, this one has a lot of Akira's hair. For those who don't know, Akira is my rabbit. So this one went unused, and it's supposed to be a sky drop. This one was actually not created by me, but my friend Krishna. For those who don't know who Krishna is, he appeared in my independent film. Go check that out. It's a movie, that's all I can say about it. You know what, Krishna carries that movie, but we're rambling on. So, this one was not used just because, to be honest, it didn't really have a place in the story for the introduction, as I was more focused on just introducing you to the main part of the town, and not so much of the city. I do plan to have some silly scenes in the buying chains, but that will have to be resolved to a later date, because right now I have to focus on the actual setting and not the city. But this one is definitely meant to be really far out in the background, and along with these trees. Okay, so this is when I say my skills began to improve with this building, and honestly, yeah, it has a very much a nice texture. Could be a bit more texture, but as all I could go is it's relatively good. The door, once again, it's still been difficult to get it right, but at a time I actually just only had foam board. Now I believe I have some balsa wood that I can use as doors instead. This one, I did make one big mistake, and as you can see, I forgot to paint these before I put the windows on. So, oh yeah, and there's another mistake. One you can see here, but this is actually was meant to be another window, but I accidentally messed up. And I looked at it and I just did not like how it looked. So I just decided to place this and be like, you know what? I've seen this type of patch repair in my state. I'm sure most people could probably buy it. The roof was made with like riveted paper, which was kind of a pain to find in my art store. Very nice texture work here, I would say. A bit more. There's a double-edged sword using these. Every once in a while, this doesn't work out, I do have some palette knives, but they just don't get that deep. So this one actually came out relatively nice, and I very much enjoy how this one looks. And I definitely do plan to make more of these. Okay, and this is the main protagonist's house. As you can see, it's practically a carbon copy. It uses the same template, but a different window structure. And it's just meant to look more like a house that you would see either in, in American suburbs, or like really far out in the countryside. So this one honestly came out slightly worse just because I accidentally was pressing too hard and ended up snapping it, and it kind of made me depressed, not gonna lie. Actually, one thing that most people don't know is these are actually scrap pieces of concept art that I really did not like how they looked. And I believe this one has like one that still shows. And I just really did not like how it looked. I just felt, I just felt embarrassed. And I was like, I gotta find a way to get rid of these. Oh, look. You see right here. But in reality, all those buildings paled in comparison to this one, which is the largest of them all and was the most difficult one to put together. Especially this one that has the staircase, which was honestly the first time I made a staircase, and won't be the last time, honestly, because even though it was annoying, I actually liked how it turned out. This one was definitely based off of the buildings I saw while in New York for a bit. I was out to see a concert, so I stayed in a place like this. So honestly, this one is just so mass. I believe this one is just to cover any gaps. This one is definitely based off some of the buildings I see in my actual state. And honestly, I do like the doors are going a bit more better, but they are still facing its problem when it comes to coloring. And you do not know the amount of foam board I used, but most namely, how much I had to like restructure this, like just add so much reinforcement to the structure, because that's how it looks like from behind. And as you can see, I didn't want it collapsing on me. And honestly, like, yeah, this one definitely could have come out better, but it didn't come out bad. I also had some nice roof scenes I could use. And here's more of some really terrible concept art that I felt so ashamed of. I felt like I needed to hide. One interesting aspect is that this one does not have side windows, but this is the first one that actually does. But it's not really used much, and it definitely will be used eventually. But yeah, this one was really difficult to make. And the last one that I plan on showing you today is one that did not appear in the episode. It did appear in the trailer, but not the episode. It will be showing up soon. But this one was definitely the most trust the process. Because honestly, I kind of came in with a very rough plan in that I glued a bunch of these sticks onto a piece of foam board that was painted black. And then afterwards, that was kind of it. This was like the most, it was generally very much the most difficult one that I had to do, because I also had to keep in mind that I had to put a roof on it, and the roof was really difficult to do. But I believe how I did it was, I had this, and I just used a template, and I just slowly but surely started to fold it all in, using these guys as support. Funny enough, this is the only one that actually gave me an injury, and you probably can't see it on camera, but I do have a skull. You can kind of see it, but basically, I was being very dumb, and I thought to myself that I believe one of these was sticking out. I forgot which one it was, but one of them was sticking out. And I said to myself, no, it was on this one. So this was sticking out, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna like shave it. And it accidentally ended up leading it to slip and cut my finger. Do not do that. Not to mention that this was very dull at the time. So all that just caught me in a very silly accident that could have been avoided. And as you can see, I actually had to give them a black wash, but Honestly, this is the one that I'm very excited to like. I know it's I know it's giving the most trouble. I'm very excited to do another one of these types of buildings soon, and yeah, I really like how this one turned up. One interesting thing is I didn't know that this is how they were going to look. So if you look real closely, you see that they kind of have this. They get thinner as they go along, and I didn't know that until I unboxed them, and I was very much disappointed. But I was like, I already bought them, so I'm not gonna buy another. I'm not gonna buy more just so I can make a few buildings out of it. I'm just gonna use it all, and you know what? I think it turned out good for those.